Hey guys, this is Workbook. This is the Workbook pages 3 and 4 for Lesson 1. This Workbook page is going to be followed, it's following the lesson. So if you haven't watched the lesson yet, go back and do that for me. So the prerequisite, which means something that you need to be able to do before you do this lesson, is how to show decimals with place value models. This is a model, and charts. So what this means is you need to be able to take this model, which is a sheet, which is 100, and if it says 25 hundredths, you need to be able to come over here and color in 25 unit squares. Then if you go right here, you need to be able to say 25 hundredths into the place value chart. Now, both of these things are going to be very helpful when it comes to breaking down these numbers. So let's look at number 1. Number 1 says, complete the sentences to show the value of the digits in the decimal 25 hundredths from the example problem above. So we are looking right there. I'm a great artist, guys. Okay, so let's look at the 2. Okay, the 2 has a value of 2 blank or 2 tenths. What is the value of the 2? It is tenths. 2 tenths. Now, I want you to look at the 5, and I'm going to give you a few seconds to find the value of the 5. Okay, the value of the 5 is hundredths. The 5 has a value of hundredths. Okay, now we have to write the decimal in words. Now, some people have a little difficulty with this. So here's my rule about it. Pretend the decimal's not even there. How would you say that number? Well, you would say 25. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and write 25. All right, so 25, and what is the last place the number's in? Hundredths. Okay, so it is 25 hundredths. That is how you would write this number, 25 hundredths. Okay, now let's do one more. Let's say the number looked like this. Okay, I'm making it 10 times smaller, or 1/10 of the size. So the 0 is in the tenths place, the 2 is in the tenths place, the 5 is in the, wait, did I say that wrong? I think I said it wrong. Let's do this again. The 0 is in the tenths place, the 2 is in the hundredths place, the 5 is in the thousandths place. Now, if we were going to have to do this all over again, we would say that the 2 has a value of 2 hundredths. The 5 has a value of 5 thousandths. All right? Now, if we had to write this out, same thing applies. Pretend the decimal's not even there. What would that number be? And it's not 0.25. You wouldn't say the 0. It's just 25. All right? And what is the place value of the last digit? That's right, thousandths. So I have 25 thousandths. That's how that works. Okay? Now, let's look down here. Ooh. Okay? We can do this. We have to figure out how many cubes are filled in, and we have to match the numbers. Okay? I'm going to give you, let's see. I know y'all probably won't do this, but if you pause the video right now, I want you to match the amount to the correct sheet. Okay? So I have 8 hundredths, 88 hundredths, and 8 tenths. Okay? So let's see. Pause it. And let's see what you can do. So pause it. Pause it right now. Do these 3 questions. All right. Hopefully you've paused the video. If you haven't, you didn't follow directions. So let's look at this. And what you're probably saying is, Miss Moore, there wasn't a tenth. There was nothing of tenth. I didn't have a rod. I just had 8 tenths. But what if I did this? 80 hundredths. Because 80 hundredths is equal to 8 tenths. So this right here, these rods are covered. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hundredths. And I said 80 hundredths is the same thing as saying 8 tenths. Because there is 8 rods, but there's also 80 unicubes filled in. Okay, let's look at this one. How many unicubes are colored? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means 8 out of 100 is put in. Okay, it's shaded in. So that means 8 hundredths. Okay, and if we went back here, you would see the same thing here. You see here, we just added a 0 to each little thing. All right, so we can do this. So we have some rods that are completely full. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 rods. So that means 80. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. So that is 88. Oops, sorry. 88 hundredths. So 88 hundredths. Okay, let's go to page 4. And I stapled these, so. All right, now, here's a good little question. And honestly, I would either have taken you drawing me a picture and or verbally telling me this. Now, it says, how is shading a grid to show 1/10 different from shading a grid to show 100ths? Well, the best way for me to explain this is to actually draw it. So it helps you explain it a little better. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's 10 things. Let's go down here. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These usually are better. 10. Then we got to go 10 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I usually do better. Okay, so 1/10. This is going to be the 1/10 right here. If I have 1/10, I'm only going to color in 1 of the tenths. But if I have 1/100ths, I only have to color in 1 of the hundredths. So, how is shading a grid to show 1/10 different from shading a grid to show 100? Well, when you shade a grid for 1/10, how many cubes are you shading in? Think about it, 1/10. How many are shaded in? That's right. Now, 1/10 of a grid is 10 unit cubes. Okay? And 100ths of a grid is only 1 unit cube. Okay? All right. Number 5 is kind of very similar to that. And let me go get a pencil real quick. Sorry. Shading with a pencil is better than shading with a pen. Okay, so we know that if you have a whole number, like we do in 1 and 400ths, okay, we know, just like it over here in 1 and 4/10, that this whole thing has to be shaded. So what I'm going to do, and what you can do, is shade this flat in. Okay, shade the flat. If you're like me, I went over. Okay, so this is 1. That is a whole number. That is 1. Now, what we have to do over here is we have to do the decimal portion. And you need to know, and you need to be able to say, okay, this is 400ths. So that means I need to color 4 out of 100. So I'm going to go right here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and be done with it. So, but Miss Moore, this is a 4/2. That's right, but it's 4/10. And remember, each one of these little rods has 10, so that's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10. So 1 and 4/10 and 1 and 400ths. So you need to be able to say, okay, if I have a tenth, that means I'm going to color in a rod. If it's 8 or 9, that means I got to color in 8 or 9 rods. And then if I have numbers into the hundredths place, that's going to go into coloring in individual cubes. All right, let's look at number 6. Trent and Lexi each shade in a grid to show the decimal 0.53. Now, 0.53 is 53 hundredths. 53 hundredths, because the last digit, which is a 3, is in the hundredths place. So you say 53 hundredths. Now let's look at Trent's grid, and let's compare it to Lexi's grid. Which one is easier to read? Because they both have 53, but which one is easier to check? If I were to say, okay, look, guys, we're going to check each other's answers. So what we got? Which one is going to be easier for you to grade? Okay, and I already told you part 1, yes, both grids show 53 hundredths. Okay, now which one do you believe is easier to read? Well, me, right off the bat, I can tell you which one's easier for me to grade, and I can tell you also that is how I prefer all kids do their shading. Because Lexi, I do not want to sit there and have to count each individual thing. I'm going to go, okay, well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then okay, 1. Because sometimes people have been known to shade really light and I couldn't see it. And when I went to count, I miscounted. So Trent's grid is easier to read or check since he shaded the columns together and the single units together. So nice and neat things. It does help. I don't just say it because I'm trying to be mean. I'm saying it because it really is helpful. So that is out of your workbook, pages 3 and 4. So go have a break, and then we'll start something else next time. See you later.